On this episode of the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by River Wind Casino, we talk some early betting lines for OU football games. Football Guys Talkin Softball returns, and we talk some OU baseball and NBA playoffs and winners and losers of the weekend. Please download and subscribe to the podcast. Rate it 5 stars and write us a good review. Follow the show on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Just search Oklahoma Breakdown on any of those, and you'll find us. All right, our man Michael Hosty will kick this thing off. It's time for the Oklahoma Breakdown. It's a beautiful Sunday, May 26th, and you're listening to the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by River Wind Casino. Riverwind is Oklahoma City's premier casino experience, and there are so many reasons why Riverwind is consistently voted OKC's #1 casino, but it all starts with their amazing variety of gaming thrills and excitement. Riverwind's beautiful award-winning environment plays host to more than 2,800 of the latest electronic games with a huge selection of table games, including blackjack, match roulette, and Teddy's favorite, craps. No matter what your game, Riverwind has it in spades and hearts. And to learn more about their gaming promotions and entertainment options in the month of May, all you got to do is visit riverwind.com. Riverwind Casino, simply the best. Happy Memorial Day weekend, Ted.
Yeah, same to you. How we doing?
Ooh,
You survived day one?
it sounds like you have enjoyed your Memorial Day weekend to the fullest, my friend.
Yes, I'm a little disheveled today, okay? I've got a little allergies or the remnants of a cold going on. I had a late night last night. Yes, okay. What of it?
I would like to point out that recording early Sunday morning was your idea, buddy.
Yeah, that's true.
So that is on you. And now, in all
Well, it's like,
seriousness,
what else are you gonna do? You got to get it done, right?
you got to get it done. You got to get the
Gotta get
content
it
out.
done.
We've got some fun stuff to talk about. People love when we talk about the early betting lines once they get dropped for OU games, but always important to acknowledge the meaning behind Memorial Day. And thank you to all the heroes that gave everything to protect our country. We thank your families as well for your sacrifice. It's important to remember, what the weekend is all about, and hope everyone has a great or had a great Memorial Day weekend and had a safe Memorial Day weekend, because that's what we all want. Ted, I did my part. I went full old man at the lake.
Really?
Yeah.
What's that mean?
Teenager acting recklessly on the jet ski in the cove next to the boats.
Mm.
Got off. We were parking. My wife's cousin and her husband just got a lake house, brand new boat. Got it on Friday, dropped it off, and this kid, the teenager, just goes blowing by. All of our kids were on the boat too. I wouldn't say ballistic, but as aggressive as I've been since playing football. It was full on screaming. And I may or may not, I absolutely threatened him with violence. I did. But eventually he got off the jet ski, so that was good.
There you go.
I did what I had to do to protect the people.
Come on. Well, that's right. That's right. That's funny.
Yeah,
Old man Gabe.
You would have laughed seeing me do it. Oh, it was fun. My wife was so mad at me. She was so mad. She was like, "You can't say that stuff in front of the kids." I was like, he needed to know. But let's get to the OU football stuff. Early betting lines are out from DraftKings, and a lot of them, 7. We've got 7 early betting lines for OU games. Just run through them real quickly. OU is a 3.5-point favorite versus Tennessee. The Sooners are a 2.5-point favorite at Auburn. OU is an 8.5-point underdog versus Texas in the Cotton Bowl. The Sooners are a 6-point underdog at Ole Miss. The Sooners are a 4-point underdog at Missouri. They are a 2-point underdog versus Alabama in Norman. And they are a 5-point underdog at LSU to finish the season. Ted, when you see those lines, which one initially really jumps out to you?
Well, it's got to be OU Texas. 8.5. That's a big one. I think we all know that it really doesn't matter the teams and where you're ranked. That one, it's going to be under 3 by the time it kicks off, I would imagine. But I don't know. That's a very high starting value. Again, it's as if we didn't beat the team last year. That game apparently never took place, which is fine. But all the other stuff is just kind of honestly like going on the road in the SEC is going to be more difficult. There's no doubt about that. But some of these games, it's just hard to know. Like Ole Miss, I mean, I know they did some good stuff in the transfer portal. It's just kind of hard to know how you stack up against them. And when you've got all these new games, you can't really gauge off of last year like you typically can. And you know somewhat about a team. It makes it all really difficult, but it's hard to argue much with like the LSU, the Alabama, um, the Ole Miss and Missouri ones are interesting. Those are going to be good teams, though. My guess is a lot of these change before the game actually kicks off. And I don't mean just
There's
change point value. I think change who's the favorite.
Yeah, and clearly these are being released in May. There's a lot that can happen between now and when these games are played, and of course these numbers will change just like you mentioned. But the one thing that just jumped out to me as I was scrolling was OU's going to be five. They're going to be an underdog in 5 games,
Crazy, right?
5 regular season games. And once again, it could change by the time these things kick off. But that got me thinking, hey, when is the last time OU was an underdog in 5 regular season football games? And I started thinking about the John Blake era, right? When I was started going to games as a kid and went through the pain and suffering with the rest of the fan base. But I went and looked on Oddshark, and I I couldn't even find a season where there's been data kept where they were underdogs in 5 games.
Yeah.
They were only underdogs in 3 games in '99. You guys were underdogs in 3 games in 2000. Underdogs 3 times in '05 and '06. And then my senior year in 2013, we were underdogs 3 times. I couldn't find, with any recorded data that exists, a season where OU was an underdog in 5 football games.
Yeah. Especially like if you, like in 2000, I think if you count the national championship game, I think you'd come to 4. But just looking at the regular season, um, yeah, it it just doesn't happen. Which a lot of it is
In
has been
2000, you guys were underdogs to Texas, Kansas State, and Nebraska.
yeah, yeah.
Those were all, I'd have to go back and look at what they were ranked at the time you played them, but they were all what, top 5 teams, top 10 teams at the
I
very
think
least.
well, we played Texas early. I think they were like 10 or 11, and then K State was 2 and Nebraska was 1.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then like I said, like the 4th would be Florida State. Like we were underdog in the national championship game, but that doesn't count for a preseason deal. But yeah, I mean it. There's a lot of similarities, like whenever you kind of think about the schedule and the difficulty and being an underdog in so many of them. I don't know. I still believe that it's a good thing for this football team. Like we need a schedule like this.
I'm with you. You have to feel, you've got to feel that sense of urgency each and every week to be at your best.
Yep.
And I was kind of just going through each game. Tennessee, I feel like that storyline, it's gonna all be about quarterbacks.
Yeah.
It's gonna start with Josh Heupel. I don't know if people know he played quarterback at Oklahoma once upon a time. That's gonna be a big deal. And then it's gonna be this battle between Nico and Jackson Arnold, right? These are 2 guys that were extremely highly recruited, and that's going to be a massive, massive storyline when that game rolls around. And I'm just assuming, just with how good OU has been at home, like that's why that line looks the way that it does. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
we'll give them 3.5. They're at home. There's question marks on both sides with the quarterback situation. Yeah, minus 3.5 for the Sooners.
Yeah, I'm hoping anyways that this is like a quarterback battle that we talk about, in years coming, because I'm hoping Jackson Arnold ends up having a huge career at Oklahoma, becoming like one of those big names. And you got to imagine Nico is going to be doing the same at Tennessee. It's like this is the early battle for these two guys, maybe to see who could be the best quarterback in the SEC over the coming years. So it's going to be cool. All the storylines in that one are going to be awesome.
I I cannot wait for that football game. It's going to be so much fun. I I do just have to say this about the OU Texas line. I brought this up before. The most confident I've ever felt going into that game is the only time I lost that game.
Right.
So you just the Sooners currently being an 8.5 point dog. It doesn't bother me at all. It
Yeah.
affects me in no way because you and I we've played in that game and we know that the expectations for either side coming into that thing, they're meaningless. You
Yep.
never know what's going to happen. And I did see that number and go, hey, DraftKings knows how many draft picks Texas lost, right? As good as Sarkeesian has been, and last year's season was a massive success for them, despite losing to OU. It's hard to replace that many good players.
Yeah.
Even if you're recruiting really well, even if you're utilizing the portal well, it's hard to replace a bunch of early round draft picks. It just is. And this is really the first time we've seen Sarkeesian have to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the most concerning for them is, yeah, they lost some real good skill talent, but I feel pretty confident they're going to replenish that, at least to a large degree. Are they going to get exactly the same play? I don't know, but they're going to get good play from some guys. It's the big two guys on the interior defensive line. How do they replicate that? Um, I don't know. This is a field goal game in the Cotton Bowl until I see otherwise over a decent duration. This thing is inside 3 points pretty much every time, barring like a catastrophe like the injury we had with Dylan Gabriel going in, stuff like that.
I was not surprised that OU was a dog to Alabama. When you see it initially, OU and Alabama are playing. Alabama's a 2 point favorite. I did not have a strong reaction to that until I realized, or I guess until I started thinking, wait, we're an underdog at home? And maybe it changes by the
Yeah.
time that thing kicks off. Ted, any guesses? And you probably already know. Any guesses the last time OU was an underdog on Owen Field?
It's got to be Ohio State, right? 2016.
Ohio State 2016. And I did a little research. Any guesses the last time the Sooners were a home underdog before that game?
Is it Nebraska?
Nebraska in 2000.
So twice in
Yeah,
25 years.
it's insane. And so
Yeah.
that's why I was looking, I was like, oh, that's a reasonable line. Alabama, they've been kind of the standard setter in the sport for the last couple decades. 2 point favorite. It's May. We'll see what it looks like when the game rolls around. And then I wait a second. That doesn't happen in my lifetime. I mean, it just
Yeah.
doesn't. So I think that kind of just tells you what the new reality is for
Yeah.
OU in the SEC. It's just I've said it a bunch, but we are entering a new world in this conference.
Yeah. And, honestly, that's one of those which all of these could turn dramatically, but, you know, there's a lot of talk about our schedule, and obviously it's difficult. Alabama doesn't have an easy schedule either. I mean, there's a reason this was the season that Nick Saban decided to bounce. All right, and I think this schedule had something to do with it. It's like their first true road non-conference game. They're going to play Wisconsin, which Wisconsin wasn't great last year, but that's going to be a difficult game. And I don't know. I think that there's a really good chance that we end up being a favorite in that game.
I I I don't think that's what you want though, knowing you. You are the king of give us a little put us in the underdog role. You love
Yeah,
that.
I want everyone at their best. Yeah, I think we could use some of that right now. I think we could use some of that. I mean, you got to be there a little bit to earn back the reputation, right? So I'm fine with it. But I mean, it stands to reason. Like that's a pretty good list, though. Three times in 25 years, number one Nebraska. I don't know what Ohio State was ranked in. They'll probably have like 2 or 3 in 16, and then Alabama. Okay, that's an all right list.
Seems reasonable. But if Alabama is still favored when that game rolls around, we are going to spread that like crazy to this fan base.
Yeah,
We need that place to be insane for that football game, and that's going to be a little fuel on that fire. Like we're underdogs for the first time since 2016 at home.
yeah. It's going to be awesome. What about the like at Ole Miss and at Missouri? What do you think of those lines?
I think they're heavily influenced by. Well, first of all, both of those teams had really good seasons last year.
Mm-hmm.
Now they lost some guys, but both Eli Drinkwitz and Lane Kiffin have done a nice job filling some holes in the transfer portal. Like Ole Miss is, I'd say they are as all in as that program's been in a long, long time with what they did. I
Yeah,
mean, they upped the salary cap for themselves, and like they've gone all in. And I think that they view this season as a really good chance to make a run at an SEC championship and go to the playoff. And they invested their funds accordingly.
yeah. And I'm curious to see how it goes. I mean, we've seen this happen a handful of times, and I think a lot of it has to do with how good your locker room is. Can you keep guys together? Like, is Lane Kiffin the type of coach that can pull a bunch of free agents together on a team for a 1 year run? I mean, we'll see. We'll see. But, the Missouri thing is interesting because I think Missouri's going to finish really high in the SEC this year. And really, I still don't know a whole lot about their football team, but their schedule, like as difficult as our schedule is, Missouri, you couldn't place together an easier schedule from the teams that there is to pick from in the SEC. I mean,
Right.
it's pretty much as easy as you could get it.
I
So I think
think
they're going to be solid.
I'm just kind of as the season gets closer and more people like we're out on the boat here at Grand Lake this weekend. What do people want to talk to me about? Of course, it's OU football. And one of the most common questions, maybe the most common question I got from everyone I talked to was, how many games do you think are going to win? And the answer is, I don't know,
Hard to
man.
know. Yeah.
It's is 8-4 a big success? 9-3. I feel like 9-3 would be a massive success in year one with what this schedule looks like for Oklahoma. Everyone, you look at all the lists, everyone considers OU to have like a top 5 hardest schedule, toughest schedule in college football. So it's your first year of the conference. You've got a freshman quarterback. You've got this really, really difficult schedule. You're going these places you've never gone. But I also keep coming back to, I could also see the SEC just beating the hell out of each other.
Yeah.
Like there could
It's
be a bunch of 8-win teams.
We've said this, or I've said it over and over. I think you have Georgia and then Tennessee, Texas, Oklahoma, Missouri, Alabama, Ole Miss. I think all of those teams are kind of in a anyone can beat anyone on a given weekend type of range. I think everyone's kind of within the margin for error there. And like maybe depending on your whether you're home or away, like a lot of those games could go either way. And maybe they don't. Maybe it's the same old teams that make their way through it, but it does feel like there's a pretty solid chance some people chew each other up.
Have you I think that there's a lot of uncertainty just with some of these road trips. Ole Miss is supposed to be a difficult place to play. We'll see. Now we've been to Missouri before. That place can get going, especially then when they're really good. And it's just impossible to predict how this team's going to handle those environments.
Well,
It,
it is. I predict they handle them great. Our problem recently hasn't been getting up for a big game on the road. Our problem has been getting up for an 11 a.m. sleepy kick on the road. And I just, you know this. Is there anything better as a player than going on the road into a crazy environment and
the
getting a win?
best.
It's like the best thing there is. So we'll see how this team responds to it. I have a feeling. I mean, don't gloss over the Auburn game on the road. Like that environment is going to be crazy. And you just go back and look for a team that wasn't very good last year. Look how much better they were at home compared to on the road.
And they have addressed several needs in the transfer portal. I expect them to be a much better team this season. Now,
Yeah.
interesting quarterback situation there for Hugh Freeze, but yeah, that's supposed to be. I've talked to multiple SEC people that are like, that place is insane.
Yep.
So we'll see what it looks like. I did want to point this out because our buddy Parker Fleming did some math that I think paints a good picture of just how difficult OU's schedule is. So FanDuel has all of their win totals out there for every team in college football, essentially. So that includes all the SEC teams, of course. And we typically don't do math on this podcast, but
We
follow,
try
try,
not to.
try to follow me on this, Ted. Each SEC team, they're playing 8 SEC games, right? You've got your 8 SEC conference games. So you can take the projected win total of each of the 8 teams and you can average that out for a win total for a team's conference opponents. Are you following me? That makes sense?
Yes. Yeah.
So you just take those 8 teams that your team is playing in conference play, you add all the win totals up, you divide them by 8, and it gives you a pretty good idea of who FanDuel thinks has the most difficult SEC schedule heading into 2024. Ted, would you like to take a guess who has the highest average win total for their SEC opponents?
It's got to be Oklahoma, considering that for a 12-game season, most people have Texas picked to win like 18 games. You know, it probably weighs pretty heavily on our overall score.
OU, the highest average win total for their SEC opponents, 8.88.
Mm,
Would you like to
that
take
is
a
that's pretty high.
it's pretty high. Would you like to take a guess in an interesting development who has the lowest average win total for their SEC opponents?
I'd be surprised if it's not Missouri,
It's Texas,
Texas.
6.25. We're
Yeah,
rolling with the 8.88, and the Longhorns have the 6.25.
amazing. Not to mention, we talked about this previously. Everyone on our schedule, except for South Carolina, either has a bye week or a Mercer Citadel type of football game before they play us.
Bye week or bye game?
Bye week or bye game.
Different
Yep.
different spellings of buys. It's called a homonym, kids. What's up? Yeah, I still remember that stuff. But just for reference, OU with the 8.88 average, Texas with the 6.25, Bama and Georgia both have a 7.75. So, yeah.
Surprised Alabama's isn't higher than that.
Well, Alabama doesn't have to play Alabama.
True. And they've got Oklahoma set as a pretty low win total in there. We're below their average.
I didn't want to I didn't want to mention it, but yeah, that's that's dragging them down. Let's get to call your shot. We asked you guys what line really stood out to you of these 7 early betting lines for OU games. This first one comes from Athletic Supporter.
Nice.
While I agree some of these lines seem aggressive for our opponents, we are relying on a essentially rookie quarterback. That's a massive variable factor my fellow Sooner fans and media seem to be suppressing. I can't imagine that we have suppressed the fact that OU is going to be starting Jackson Arnold and he has very, very little experience. I feel like we've talked about it quite a bit, but I do think that the inexperience at quarterback is a large factor. I think if Dylan Gabriel was still at OU would not be an underdog in 5 games. I think that's fair to say. Yeah. I also still believe that Jackson Arnold has a much higher ceiling than Dylan Gabriel as a player. And we're just going to have to see what it looks like early in the season and how he develops as a player.
I mean, just as I look at it right now, I think there's a pretty solid chance that we can be better at quarterback than Tennessee, be better at quarterback than Auburn, be better at quarterback than Texas, Ole Miss, Missouri, and LSU. We'll see about Milroe. I mean, a lot of those guys have some good, solid play in there, but I've seen mistakes from Jackson Arnold, but we can't just throw away all the great stuff we've seen from him as well because of a couple of mistakes in the bowl game. He's put some really good stuff out there, and I expect him to continue to get better and better. So we'll see. That may not be the case, but I still think we have a chance to have the better quarterback in the majority of the games we play this year. And that goes a long way because I also think we're going to have the better defense in pretty much all of those games.
Yep.
It'd be awfully nice. The better quarterback and the better defense, you're going somewhere.
No doubt about it. That's a good formula for winning some football games in any conference.
Yep.
This other one comes from @Will_Cal, who says +8.5 after Texas loses literally all of their production, and we are returning a substantial amount. Miss me with that BS. However, I think the more glaring issue here is we are underdogs in 5 of these games.
Yeah.
The Texas line does jump off the page.
Yeah. Which, that a lot of stuff is gonna, I mean, the further out you are, the more speculative it is and the more wild it can look. And I think that's the case right now, but we'll see. We've got plenty of, like, we've addressed some of our needs and filled some of our holes, but I mean, we've got plenty of question marks ourselves. I mean, I feel really good that a lot of this stuff is going to work itself out, but I mean, for the offensive line, just don't know. I feel pretty good that we're going to have a solid group, and especially by the time we enter conference play, I feel like as long as we stay healthy in some spots and all that, but the offensive line and quarterback probably is going to tell the story for us this year. If you kind of, the knowns that you have, those are probably the most important unknowns.
I think that's a great way of putting it. All right. The return of football guys talking softball, baby. But first, Love's Travel Stops is now offering a nationwide 10 cent per gallon discount on gas and auto diesel. Just download the Loves Connect app and scan your barcode at the prompt on screen and watch that price drop 10 cents per gallon. Across the country, the Loves Connect app unlocks exclusive deals and can help any traveler plan their route or meal on the highway. So before you hit the road, be sure to download the Loves Connect app to save 10 cents per gallon and experience the country's best highway hospitality at Love's Travel Stops. Love's also has you covered if you forget your phone charger or headphones with their expanded mobile to go zone. And of course, don't forget to grab yourself some of that delicious Java Amore.
And
Octave lower because of all the drinking.
smart,
Keep it
smart.
lower, you know?
Celebrate with a Schooner All-American Ale, the official craft beer of OU Athletics from Coop Ale Works. Named after the iconic Sooner schooner that races across Owen Field after an OU score, you can join in on the celebration with an ice-cold beer from Coop Ale Works. You can enjoy it at the Palace on the Prairie, at OU athletic events, at the bar, at the tailgate, and in the comfort of your own home. For more information on Schooner All-American Ale, visit schoonerale.com. Must be 21 to purchase. Please drink responsibly. Schooner All-American Ale, the taste of game day.
And we love Simple Modern. Simple Modern is an Oklahoma owned drinkware company and number one drinkware sales leader on Amazon and Target this summer. Simple Modern launched its summer shop where they drop new and unique drinkware options every other Tuesday all summer long. Now you can get your own limited edition version of the extremely popular 40-ounce Trex in designs you won't see anywhere else. And even better, Simple Modern exists to give generously, donating 10% of all profits so you can know you're helping better Oklahoma and beyond with every purchase. Check out the summer shop and all of their amazing products at simplemodern.com. Football Guys Talking Softball. FGTS is back, Ted.
Go.
It's that time of the year. OU softball won game one, 11-3 in a 5-inning run rule, and won game two, 4-2. They just took care of business against Florida State in the Super Regional there in Norman, and they are headed to their 8th straight Women's College World Series. 8th straight, Ted. Just incredible stuff. And Patty Gasso remains flawless, advancing to the Women's College World Series when she comes on the podcast. Just want to point that out.
There you go. Yeah, that's impressive. And dare I say, they look like they've been gathering steam since the postseason started and they started the Big 12 tournament. It looks like they're looking more and more comfortable, more and more confident. They're headed to familiar territory where they've got a ton of experience with some of their upperclassmen. Things are looking good. Offense is playing well. Defense, we had some absolute beautiful plays over the Super Regional. So I'd say they're in a pretty good spot heading into the World Series.
I was taking notes during both of the games. I've divided my notes into positives and then concerns. Not negatives,
Yeah.
but concerns. So here are my positives, Ted. Game
Okay.
one. Game one. Loved how they responded when Florida State got a little momentum, when they scored a few runs to tie the game in the third. It kind of felt like we were about to get a really good game, and then just an offensive avalanche from OU. Brito was just the softball didn't have a chance that night. I mean, Brito was just hammering that thing. Couple bombs. Kinsey Hansen with a bomb. I mean, it felt like it was going to be a game, and then a blink of an eye, it was 9-2 heading into the 5th inning.
Yeah.
That was great. Tremendous way of responding in that game. I thought in game two, it just took advantage of every mistake that Florida State made. I mean, you go back to Tiare Jennings scoring early. Parker gets caught in the rundown on purpose, and Tiare Jennings executes the plan perfectly and goes and scores.
Yep.
Jada Coleman having the awareness, scoring on a wild pitch. Like every mistake, it felt like every mistake Florida State made, they made him pay for it. Speaking of Jada Coleman, my note from that one, just wow. What a beast. What a catch. That is one of the best softball catches you will ever see that she had in game two. That was incredible.
It's the craziest looking thing. She just I don't even know how to explain it. Like floats backwards in the air, and it's
Matrix
almost like
style.
yeah, and it's almost like she no looks it. Like she's got her glove up and she's just kind of like looking down, knows it's gonna happen. It was such a cool play, man. It was great.
Cassidy Pickering's home run in game two gave him some breathing room. Just just the normal actions of a freshman.
Yeah, crazy.
Going opposite field in a tight ball game with the trip to the Women's College World Series on the line. I think she's going to be an incredible player for this
Yeah,
program. And then the last thing I had was Nicole May looked awesome in the closing role in game two. I
yeah,
mean,
she did.
she looked dialed in. She was displaying some attitude in the
Yeah,
circle. And I was a big fan of that. She came in there with the right look in her eye, and they had no chance. Ground ball after ground ball after ground. I thought she was fantastic.
yep. No, I agreed. It's um it's crazy to have that type of experience from from a pitcher like Nicole May that can come in those moments where most teams kind of have their ace, and if their ace doesn't can't get it done, then they don't have much of an opportunity. But we've got several different routes to go. And what is she like 61-5 as a starter, something crazy like that? To be able to have that experience come in moments like that is just it's next level.
My last positive had a bunch of different people tell me that Love's Field was absolutely rocking for those games.
It looked good. Looked
And
awesome.
I do think when they built that, it was it was it was built because of the success of the program. But I think it was also built with like we need to give this team a true home field advantage in mind. And just watching it from my couch, like it looked like a true home field advantage and it looked like it affected Florida State. So
Yeah.
credit to the fans because I had multiple people text me that was like, hey, this place is, I mean, it is on fire and fantastic here.
Yeah, it's awesome when you just kind of you're watching around the country at some of the other super regionals and you see the environment. And they're not bad environments, but they just don't have a home field like that. That's got I don't know what 5,000 people there. Out there in the outfield. You know how those outfields get. They're talking to the opposing players and it's loud, and they get to clap and everything in there. It's awesome. It's a great environment, which sounds like that was the plan, and I think they accomplished it.
Concerns from the super regional. Really just the big one. Like Kelly Maxwell didn't have her best stuff in game one. It just didn't have the control we've come to expect from her, especially lately. I mean, she's been locked in. You go back and think about how she pitched in the regional. I just think it certainly says a lot about the team that even when she was off, she was able to go the distance and limit a really explosive Florida State offense. They were able to still find ways to get the key outs when she absolutely needed them, but too many walks. When she hit two batters, you go back and think about the first inning. Kind of lucky to get out of it the way that she did. You can't afford to have her pitch like that in the Women's College World Series. I just think if she's got to be more dialed in than she was in game one, and no one knows that more than her. But it was pretty surprising watching her be as off as she was with her control.
Yeah. Is there anything that you attribute that to?
Sometimes the big time home field advantage, the big time home environment can affect you in a weird way.
Yeah,
It
it
was
puts
strange. It was
an amount
strange
of
watching
pressure on the.
her not be able to locate pitches the way that I mean she just normally does.
Mhm.
So that was something I think if you look at the super regional, I think that's probably your number one concern if you're an OU softball fan that you saw was, hey, she did not look dialed in. And if this team wants to win a fourth, listen to me. If this team wants to win a fourth consecutive national title, sound ridiculous. But if they want to win a fourth consecutive national title, they need Kelly Maxwell to be better than she was in game one of the Super Regional. I think that's fair to say, right?
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, I think it's fair to say, just in general, the the margin for error for Oklahoma is slimmer than it has been in the past. I think offensively, I think you could maybe make the claim defensively, and then pitching. In We're still really good in all of those areas, but just maybe not quite as good as we've been, or we don't have the edge, because I do think the field has gotten better as well. So they've closed the gap on Oklahoma to some degree. So everyone's really going to have to be on top of their game, including Kelly Maxwell, whenever they start into the World Series.
You got to be at your best, and that one of my concerns, and I don't know if it's the best way to frame it, is game one. Florida State just made so many mistakes, and they
Yeah.
prevented it from being a close game. I mean, you got people falling down, running the bases. You got runners on first and second, no outs in the fifth. You pop up a bunt for a double play. Like they just made, and maybe it was the environment that affected them so significantly, but they made it easy on OU with how many mistakes that they made, which
Yep.
that's part of the game, right? That's part of the game. But you anticipate less mistakes from other teams in the Women's College World Series. You can't bank on someone making the type of mistakes that Florida State made in this, especially in that game one.
Well, yeah, and we made mistakes too, but how about what went down on that situation where we had a runner on second that just kind of randomly decided to go take third,
And then they called obstruction.
which Patty was quick to the obstruction call. I mean, she had a good look at it down the line, but what was that
I
whole situation?
I'm not a softball rules expert, but you're not supposed to be able to prevent them sliding into the bag. Like that's obstruction, right?
No, no, no,
But
no. I got that.
when
I'm
you get,
talking about,
yeah, what happened? I have no idea.
like, why she, like, did she not see the third baseman? I don't know. It
I
was.
All I know is the look on her face when it got overturned. Look, that was a you could put that next to relief in the
Oh
dictionary.
my
That's what
gosh.
relief looks like on someone's face.
I know. Even Patty was like as animated as you see her. She was like over there laughing at the dugout, like we got out of that one.
Yeah. Speaking of which, that should not be obstruction. If you get caught like that,
I know. I
she was
I
out.
agree.
I mean,
Out.
now there's some OU softball people that are saying, "Shut up, the rules are the rules," and I get it, but if you get caught like that, you should be out, man. I mean,
Yep.
it's silly.
Yep.
It's silly that hey, you. I know she would have been out anyways if you would have had your foot in front of the base, but you had your foot in the base, so she's safe. What?
Yeah, you
Unless
tag her
I'm
before.
misunderstanding the rule,
Yeah.
that seems very silly.
Yeah. Yeah. It's strange. But needless to say, um, there were mistakes in there too. And obviously as the competition's gonna get tougher and tougher, the stakes are gonna be higher and higher. It's more likely the team that makes the fewer mistakes is the one who wins. I mean, there's going to be a handful of big plays made. We know that, but it's the mistakes. Like we've got to limit those, obviously, and that's really what they've been so good at over the years, and just got to continue it.
Here is just a phenomenal stat. Oklahoma softball has not lost a home super regional game since May 24th, 2014.
That's crazy.
It's nuts, man.
I don't even. Why did I feel like they lost this super regional game last year?
I
That's dumb of me.
I'm pretty sure I typed that straight from the recap of game two.
I it sounds. I mean, It would be like a stat that Oklahoma would have for sure. That's crazy.
I
It's impressive.
that's the softball program is crazy. It's
I know.
unreal. I mean, that's there. I'm fired up for the Women's College World Series. Fun time of the year for softball fans. All right, let's finish up with our winners and losers of the weekend. But first,
All you grill masters, listen up. Didier Ranch delivers premium quality beef that is 100% raised in Oklahoma right to your front door. Go to didierranch.com, DIDIER ranch.com to order one of their premium quality beef boxes and use promo code Oklahoma15 for 15% off your order. Filet, ribeye, New York strip, sirloin, steak burgers. They've got it all and they ship anywhere in the continental U.S. and Oklahomans can get deliveries in just 1 to 2 days. The only thing better than having a lot of premium beef on the O&D line is having premium beef delivered right to your front door. Didier Ranch, tradition tastes better.
and head to the garage for hand smashed patties, butter toasted buns, and ice cold beer. It's the perfect spot to watch any big game, and with all the garage locations being open to 10 p.m. or later every night, it's the go-to late night spot. Would be a great place to watch Women's College World Series games. Just saying.
That's right.
Ton of TVs, delicious food. Visit eatatthegarage.com to find a location near you and order online from the garage in your neighborhood.
Attention business owners, you need Insurica in your life. Insurica is one of the country's largest insurance brokers with 30 offices throughout Oklahoma, Texas, and the Southwest. Insurica is able to customize programs by accessing the latest information from many insurance carriers. They compare and contrast coverage offerings and pricing in order to design a cost-effective, comprehensive program to meet your business's specific needs. If your business partners with Insurica, you'll save huge amounts of money and take back control of your total cost of risk. If your business wants to be best in class, connect with Insurica at insurica.com. That's INSURICA.com.
As always, Ted, kick us off. Who do you have as your winner of the weekend?
Well, I guess I'm going to go with OU golf because a lot of this is very difficult to keep up with for me whenever you've got the individual and the team stuff going on. But Jay Summey right now is in fourth at the halfway point of the NCAA championships. And I think they're going to play today and then they play Monday, I think is whenever you have the final where the championship is going to be pulled from. But playing pretty good right now. The Sooners as a team overall are in 19th, I believe, and are 27 over, and they had a 14 over 302 in the second round. So they're in a pretty decent spot. They got to make some moves today in order to start to make these cuts as things thin out and they move on. But Jay Summey in a pretty good spot there in fourth.
I hope Summey can get it done. What a great golf name, by the way.
It is. I
Jay
agree.
Summey. Destined to
Perfect
be
name.
good at golf with that name. Coach Hibble's the best.
Yeah.
Man, I love watching those teams succeed. And that's one of the things about OU golf. I feel like sometimes it gets lost in the shuffle, but they've been so consistently good for so long now. I mean, it's one of the best golf programs in the country. It's awesome.
Yeah. No, they've been great. And it's difficult in golf. I mean, it's difficult in all sports, but to stay up there at the top is hard. You got, guys rotating through and I don't know. They've done an incredible job there. And like, that's the hard part is getting to where they are now. And then, you start to get a reputation of having one of the best programs out there. And that helps and goes a long way. The facilities that they've got going on have helped. So yeah, they're definitely rolling and see if they can pull off something big.
Who do you have as your loser of the weekend?
OU baseball, not really a loser. Didn't get the title in the Big 12 tourney. They won the regular season, got second in the tourney. Oklahoma State was able to outlast them. Once they get into that
That's
tournament
one way
play
to
stuff.
describe 9-2 is able to outlast them.
Well, I guess I'm saying more like throughout the
Or wait, it was
tournament.
not.
Like
It ended up 9-3. They scored a third run, 9-3.
9-3. Like those tournaments, the postseason tournaments played like that ends up kind of being a war of attrition with how you have to burn through arms and stuff like that. Oklahoma State's really good too. But overall, really good job. And I still think, and I guess it's all going to be decided later today, but I still think they have a good chance to be a top 8 seed and host a super. So we'll see. They put themselves in a really good spot.
Everything I've seen when it comes to those projections is that they're supposed to be a top 8 seed.
Yeah.
The only, I don't know if annoying is the right word, but you think about Bedlam. They beat us in football. We don't know the next time we're going to play. That was very annoying.
Mm-hmm.
And then I believe, Ted, isn't this the last Big 12 sporting event for Oklahoma athletics?
Yeah. I think that's it. I think
Oklahoma
we're
State
done.
fans are going to love that they won, especially the fashion that they won. They're just going to love that little fact. And
Oh yeah.
it's going to be so annoying.
I know it. I know it.
Dang it.
Did they beat us both games in basketball, men's basketball? They definitely won the one there in Stillwater.
Now,
I don't
didn't we
remember.
beat them in Norman?
Yeah, I think you may be right.
This is
I hope
something
so.
where it's like we got so battered and bruised by how OU men's basketball season finished that, and then the portal stuff, that have we already erased it from our memories?
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
I don't know if that's a good sign or not, man.
I know it. Well, needless to say, I still feel the baseball team is in a really good spot.
Yeah, we won.
Uh,
We won 66-62 at Lloyd
okay, there
Noble.
you go.
Okay.
Nice.
I
Yeah.
was about to say, I think we're losing our mind. The one in Stillwater was awesome. It was
Yeah.
like 2-point game. That was a great game. But yeah, I'm excited for the post. I'm not gonna let the disappointment of how that championship game in the Big 12 tournament went. I'm not gonna let that affect how excited I am for this team in the postseason, because that tournament is really not a good reflection of how you're going to fare in the postseason when it comes to the formatting. You know what I mean?
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, we've got
Which that Big 12 tournament bracket, uh, I'm still trying to figure out who came up with that. It made my brain hurt. I was like, how is this? How is this the format? It was so bizarre. Oh,
Yep. No, that's right. It seems like it should be a pretty easy thing to recreate every single year, right? I don't know. It should be a standard format, but whatever. Um, yeah, I feel good about where we're going to be. Like we got a couple of really top-notch starting arms, um, good closer type roles. So I offense is playing at a really high level right now. So I think we got a good shot to do some damage. We'll see.
we'll have
Get
to
hot.
get once, because softball is going to be wrapping up clearly before baseball. We'll have to get T Row on to talk some Sooners baseball and give us some insight.
Absolutely.
All right, let's get to my winner and loser. But first, new sponsor alert, fellas. Father's Day is coming up on June 16th, and our friends at Manscaped have some excellent gift options for you to get your dad. Head over to manscaped.com and get 20% off plus free shipping with code OKBreakdown. My dad's got a beard, had one his entire life, desperately needed a trimmer upgrade. So I got him the Beard Hedger Pro Kit. It's the complete beard maintenance kit for all the bearded dads out there. This all-in-one kit comes with a beard hedger that's Manscaped's most advanced beard trimmer, as well as shampoo, conditioner, oil, and balm for your beard. It also comes with a brush, comb, and scissors so your dad can style his beard and mustache. I mean, this thing is fancy, you guys. It's really fancy. Now, maybe you're like Ted, not blessed with a beautiful, luxurious beard. Although maybe he has one and he just doesn't grow it, and it bothers me every day. You can get some of the Boxers 2.0. They were designed with a simple mission to make the most comfortable boxers using perforated performance fabric for extra breathability. Get 20% off plus free shipping with code OKBreakdown at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code OKBreakdown. Happy Father's Day from Manscaped.
And head to opolisclothing.com for our podcast merchandise and the best OU gear out there. That's OPOLIS clothing.com. Use promo code TED, TED, for 10% off. That's opolisclothing.com. Use promo code TED for 10% off. Buttery soft and 10% off.
For my win of the weekend, the Boston Celtics. What a close in game 3 for them in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Indiana Pacers. That was the final couple of minutes of that game. That's championship team type stuff. Pacers were up 8 with 2.5 minutes to go in the game. Just some big shots from the Celtics, some extremely clutch plays, and Jason Tatum, just another massive game. 36, 10, and 8. Al Horford hit 7 threes. And Jaylen Brown, he continues to just be excellent. Celtics had 4 bench points, Ted, and won a conference finals game on the road. Yeah, I know Indiana didn't have Tyrese Halliburton, and that sucks. And that it certainly is taken away from this series, but they finished that game. The way that they finished that game was just really impressive. And Drew Holiday is a dog, man.
He's been in the league for a while now, man.
He's high on my list of basketball guys I think can play football. So I love that dude.
Yeah, that's good.
He had the massive and one to give them the lead late, and then he picked Nimhart's pocket with a couple seconds to go, and it hits both free throws. I mean, he was fantastic. Ted, did you see the final play of the game though from Indiana?
I did not.
They advanced the ball with the timeout. They basically got in like 4 wide in a football set, and they ran mesh. Wide open look.
How about that?
2 guys in man coverage pick each other off. Somewhere Mike Leach was smiling in heaven, undoubtedly.
Did they have to dig in behind or no?
No digging behind. More of kind of like a postish type situation.
I like it.
Wide open look for an Aaron Nesmith, and he just missed it. To send it in overtime. But yeah, it brought a smile to my face. It made me pretty happy. I was like, hey, that's a football play.
That's funny.
There's no doubt the Celtics, they have had massive injury luck when it comes to the other team. Now, remember, Porzingis is out. They're not the best version of their team right now either. But they had Miami without Jimmy Butler. Donovan Mitchell missed multiple games in their second round series, and now Halliburton's hurt in the conference finals. It feels unfair, but everyone's opinion is this team is going to be formed by what happens in the NBA finals.
Yeah.
Because right now it feels like they've kind of had a very easy path, especially when you consider what's going on in the Western Conference.
Yeah, and there's a lot to be said for that. I mean, you got to imagine, obviously there's the physical toll, but the mental and emotional stress that you go through from a couple of like really physical series and comes down to the wire, game 6s, game 7s. I mean, that wears on somebody, and they've been able to stay relatively clean, and it looks like they're going to continue to stay clean. Like, that's a huge advantage whenever you make it to the finals. You go back and look through the damage you've had to sustain through the previous series. Like, they're going to be light years ahead of whoever comes out of the West.
Yeah. On the Pacers side of things, feel terrible for Halliburton to re-injure the hammy at that point in time. It's brutal. And then looking at that game 3, Andrew Nimhart and TJ McConnell were awesome. And those 2 guys you don't even really get to enjoy an awesome playoff performance when your team loses that way. So I will say this about the Pacers, though. I like their fans. I feel like they're the second best fan base when it comes to wearing the T-shirt. We
That's
all know
true.
who's number one, baby. We all know who
That's
is king
true.
of the matching T-shirt mountain. But Pacers fan, I acknowledge and salute you for wearing the and they were yellow, bright yellow, and I was proud of them. It was a good showing, not excellent, but good.
That's funny. That's funny. Yeah, I Celtics. How do you, assuming they make it through this series, how do you think they stack up against whoever makes it out of the West?
I think if Porzingis is healthy, I would pick them to win the title. Just because I think they've got a tremendous collection of talent. I think their best three are better than any other team's best three. So we'll see, but I also think it's a massive advantage. They haven't had to go deep in any of these series.
Yeah,
And that's something that, like Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum do not miss games. These guys are durable, man. I mean,
yeah.
they've been really durable and they deserve credit for that. But yeah, I think they got everything that they need to win a title. I am interested to see. I don't see any reason why they'd bring Porzingis back in this series.
Yeah,
I think they're going to push hard to win Game 4 and get this thing over with. But we'll see.
yeah. I don't know. I don't know. It's hard for me because the West, even though we're a couple games into this thing, it's still hard for me to really. I don't know. The styles just feel so different to me between what we see from Dallas or Minnesota compared to Boston to some degree. It's hard for me to really know how those matchups would go.
Yeah, we'll see it. Perfect segue to my loser of the weekend, Ted.
Okay.
And in Game 3, we're recording this before Game 3 of the Western Conference Finals on Sunday night. But my loser of the weekend is Anthony Edwards. And maybe the Timberwolves go and win Game 3 in Dallas, and he's incredible. And I sound kind of stupid for saying everything that I'm about to say. That's all very possible. But to have the whole bring your ass thing blow up the way that it did, I mean, it kind of took over the state of Minnesota. You had the governor tweeting out the link, all these things. Like the bringyass.com was taking everyone to the Minnesota tourism website. Like it just got embraced. And it seemed like the vibes were so high in the state of Minnesota. And there's so much excitement for this team. And you lose Game 1 and Game 2 at home.
Mm,
That that makes you the loser of the weekend for me, man. It just does. And Anthony Edwards, to his credit, he has played himself into an exclusive group, right? When you start talking about the conversation of the best guys in the league. And people are throwing Michael Jordan around for this guy. Whether that's fair or not, I don't know. But that's what's happening. Like people are talking about this guy being the face of the league moving forward. Now he's only 22 years old. I understand that, but he's supposed to be that guy. Game 1, 6 of 16, 19 points. Game 2, 5 of 17,
mm.
21 points. Had some costly turnovers late in Game 2. And I know it's a team game, but he's supposed to be that guy, Ted. And he, in my opinion, he just hadn't been very good in this series so far.
Is it something that you think Dallas is doing defensively on him, or is it just not making the shots, not getting to his spots?
They're doing a nice job, but I really think him having to guard Kyrie is fatiguing him and affecting him on the offensive end.
Yeah.
Which that's why a lot of the times your star player doesn't guard the other team's best players because they have to carry such a large load offensively. And that is taxing. Like these guys are not robots. They get tired. And I think he's playing more fatigued than he's used to because Kyrie is still quick as hell, man.
He is. He's
And,
tough, man. His change of direction is so crazy still.
and it's hard for Anthony Edwards to be at his best on the offensive end when he's having to deal with Kyrie Irving.
Yep.
On the other end, it just is. Now, I respect the absolute hell out of him for taking that challenge on, but they got to find a way to keep him maybe a little fresher. So I'm interested to see what the chess match looks like the rest of the series. But one of the reasons why Anthony Edwards is my loser of the weekend is because he's supposed to be in that exclusive conversation of best guys in the league, and Luka Doncic is clearly the best player on the floor in this series so far.
Yeah.
It ain't close. And Anthony Edwards is supposed to be in that class, right? He's supposed to be in that conversation. And Luka, 33 in game one, had a triple double with 32, 10, and 13 in game two, including the game winner where I don't think Luka likes Rudy Gobert. I mean, he was just screaming at him after the step back three, which why they switched that so easily and didn't make someone else beat you. I thought that was a big mistake from Minnesota. But Luka has been that dude, and Anthony Edwards has not through two games. And that kind of just magnifies it. Anthony Edwards has to be better if Minnesota wants a chance in this series.
What do you think happens? It's 2-0. What do you think happens as they head back to Dallas?
My original pick was Dallas in 6. I'm sticking to it.
Sticking with it.
Yeah. I I think Minnesota's a really, really good basketball team. Just Anthony Edwards has to be better. I don't know how much better Naz Reid can be. That guy, he is for 5-minute stretches, he turns into the best basketball player on the planet. It's crazy to watch. And he missed the game winner in game 2. I understand that. I thought that thing was going in, but and maybe I'm not as critical of Anthony Edwards if that shot goes in.
Yeah.
But I keep coming back to the fact that if you're supposed to be a top 5 player, if you're Anthony Edwards, all these people are saying you're going to be the face of the NBA moving forward because your personality and your skill level, and you don't shy away from the moment, all these things. Like, you have to play better when it's all on the line, man. You just have to.
This is the moment, right? This is the moment. Yeah. Well, we'll see. See if he can answer the call.
Birthday shout outs. Happy 8th birthday to Taylor Faulkner.
Happy 10th birthday to Carson King.
Happy 29th birthday to Miko Factor.
Happy 48th birthday to Ningi Perkins.
I think you nailed it. Nengie. Never seen that name in my life.
Ningi Perkins.
Nengi.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Happy 55th birthday to Scott Harrison.
Happy birthday to Robert Checkout 11 Bowman.
I need to know the story about that nickname. Checkout 11.
Okay.
And happy birthday to Big Daddy Donald E. Burleson.
Yeah.
On that note, episode 425 in the books. We'll have a new podcast that'll drop on Wednesday. Just a reminder, please subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, make sure, tell all your friends. Tell all your friends about the podcast. Tell them to subscribe as well. Hope you all have a great start to your week. And until next time, we appreciate you all for listening. Do what you always do, Oklahoma. Take care of each other.